What is Art? By Leo Tolstoy. Chapter 1. Pick up any newspaper today. You will find a section on theater and music. Almost every issue reviews some exhibition or some single painting, and every issue tells you about the new books, the poems, the stories, the novels. The moment a performance is over, the papers describe it in detail. How this actress or that actor played a part in some drama, comedy, or opera. What qualities the performance showed. What the new work is about, and where its faults and merits lie. The same care goes into everything else. How a certain artist sang a piece, or played it on the piano or the violin. What was good and what was weak in the music and in the playing. Every large city has at least one exhibition of new paintings, and usually several, and the critics and connoisseurs weigh their faults and merits with the deepest gravity. New novels and new poems appear almost daily, in separate volumes and in the magazines, and the newspapers hold it their duty to give their readers a full account of these works of art. In Russia, the government pays out millions in subsidies to academies, conservatories, and theaters to keep art alive. On the education of the people, it spends 1/100th of what would be needed to give everyone the means of learning. France sets aside 8 million for the arts. Germany and England do the same. In every large city, they raise enormous buildings for museums, academies, conservatories, and drama schools, for performances and for concerts. Hundreds of thousands of workers spend their whole lives in hard labor to satisfy the demands of art. Carpenters, masons, painters, joiners, upholsterers, tailors, barbers, jewelers, bronze casters, typesetters. Hardly any human activity swallows so much effort, except war. And it is not only labor that goes into this. Lives go into it, as lives go into war. Hundreds of thousands of people give up everything, from childhood on, to learn to twirl their legs very fast. Those are the dancers. Others learn to run their fingers over keys and strings very fast. Those are the musicians. Others learn to paint whatever they see. Others learn to twist a phrase every possible way and find a rhyme for every word. These people are often kind, clever, fit for any useful work, and they go dull and half wild in their narrow, stupefying trade. They become one-sided specialists, thoroughly pleased with themselves, blind to everything serious in life, able to do nothing but twirl their legs, their tongues, or their fingers. Even that is not the whole of it. I remember once attending a rehearsal of one of those perfectly ordinary modern operas that are staged in every theater in Europe and America. I arrived after the first act had begun. To reach the auditorium, I had to cross behind the scenes. They led me through the dark passages and corridors under that enormous building, past the huge machines that shift the scenery and work the lights, and there in the gloom and the dust, I could make out men at work. One of them passed me, a gray, thin face, a filthy smock, filthy hands with the fingers splayed stiff, plainly tired and sullen. He was scolding another man about something as he went. I climbed a dark staircase and came out on the boards behind the wings. Among the piled scenery, the curtains, the poles and hoops, dozens of people stood and moved about, perhaps hundreds. Men painted and costumed, their thighs and calves in tight cloth. Women bared, as always, as far as could be managed. Singers, chorus men, chorus women, ballet dancers, all waiting their turn. My guide took me across the stage and over a plank bridge above the orchestra, where 100 or so musicians of every kind were sitting, and down into the dark stalls. On a platform between two lamps with reflectors, in an armchair before a music stand, sat the man in charge of the music, baton in hand, ruling the orchestra, the singers, and the whole production. The performance had already begun when I came in. On stage, they were representing a procession of Indians bringing home a bride. Besides the costumed men and women, 2 men in ordinary jackets were running about and fussing. One was the stage director. The other moved from place to place with remarkable lightness in his soft shoes, the dancing master, whose monthly pay was more than 10 workmen earned in a year. These 3 chiefs were fitting the singing, the orchestra, and the procession together. The procession went in pairs, as it always does, with tin-foil halberds on the shoulders. They all came out from the same spot, walked round and round again, and then halted. It would not come right. The Indians with the halberds came out too late, then too early, then on time, but they bunched together going off. Then they did not bunch, but they placed themselves wrong along the sides of the stage. Every time, everything stopped and began again. The procession began with a recitative sung by a man got up as some sort of Turk, who opened his mouth in a strange way and sang, "I am escorting the bride." He sings it and waves an arm, bare of course, out from under his mantle. The procession starts, and now the horn plays something wrong in the chord under the recitative, and the conductor shudders as though a disaster had struck and raps his baton on the stand. Everything stops. He turns to the orchestra and falls on the horn player for taking a wrong note, abusing him in the coarsest words, the way cab drivers swear at each other. And everything begins again. The Indians with the halberds come out again, stepping softly in their strange shoes. The singer sings again, "I am escorting the bride," but now the pairs have closed up too tight. The baton raps again, more abuse, and back to the start. Again, "I am escorting the bride." Again the bare arm comes out from under the mantle in the same gesture, and the pairs step softly forward with the halberds on their shoulders, some of them grave and sad, some chatting and smiling, and take their places in a ring, and begin to sing. All seems well, but the baton raps once more, and in a suffering, embittered voice, the conductor starts cursing the chorus. It turns out that as they sang, they failed to raise their hands now and then to show that they were roused. Are you dead, or what? Cows, are you corpses that you cannot move? Back to the start. Again escorting the bride, and again the chorus women sing with sad faces and lift a hand. First one, then another, but two of them are talking together, and the baton hammers harder. Did you come here to gossip? You can gossip at home. You there in the red trousers, come closer. Look at me. From the top. Again, I am escorting the bride, and so it goes for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3. A rehearsal like this runs 6 hours without a break. Raps of the baton, repetitions, placings, corrections of the singers, the orchestra, the processions, the dances, and all of it seasoned with furious abuse. In the space of 1 hour I heard the words donkeys, fools, idiots, swine, thrown at the musicians and singers some 40 times, and the wretched man at whom the insults are aimed, the flautist, the horn player, the singer, crippled in body and in soul, says nothing, and does as he is told. He sings, "I am escorting the bride," 20 times over, sings the same phrase 20 times over, and marches once more in his yellow shoes with the halberd over his shoulder. The conductor knows these people are so crippled that they are fit for nothing else, only to blow a horn and carry a halberd in yellow shoes. He knows they are used to a sweet and comfortable life, and will bear anything rather than lose it. So he gives himself over to his own brutality with an easy mind. All the more so because he has seen it done in Paris and Vienna, and he knows the best conductors do it, and that this is the musical tradition of the great artists, who are so swept up in the great work of their art that they have no time to consider what an artist feels. It would be hard to see a more disgusting spectacle. I have watched a workman unloading goods curse another for failing to take the weight that fell on him. I have watched a foreman at the haymaking curse a laborer for building the stack crooked, and the laborer stand there and take it in silence. Unpleasant as it is to see, the unpleasantness is softened by one thought, that the work is necessary and important, and that the mistake the laborer is cursed for could ruin something that needed doing. But what is being done here, and why, and for whom? It may well be that the conductor is worn out too, like that workman below. He plainly is worn out. But who is making him suffer, and for the sake of what? The opera they were rehearsing was an ordinary opera, to those who are used to such things. It was also one of the greatest absurdities the mind can invent. An Indian king wants to marry. They bring him a bride. He disguises himself as a singer. The bride falls in love with the supposed singer, and is in despair. Then she learns that the singer is the king himself, and everybody is delighted. No such Indians ever existed, and none could exist. What was being shown resembled no Indian and nothing else on earth, except other operas. Of that there can be no doubt at all. People do not speak in recitative. They do not stand at fixed distances in a quartet and wave their arms to express what they feel. Nowhere but in a theater do they walk in pairs and slippers with tinfoil halberds. Nobody is ever angry that way, or moved that way, or laughs that way, or weeps that way, and nobody on earth can be touched by any of it. Of that too there can be no doubt. The question forces itself on you, who is this for? Who could possibly enjoy it? If the opera does now and then have a pretty tune, one it would be pleasant to hear, it could simply be sung, without the silly costumes and the processions and the recitatives and the waving of arms. As for the ballet, where half-naked women make lascivious movements and twine themselves into sensual garlands, it is nothing but an obscene show. So it is impossible to see who it is meant for. An educated man finds it unbearable and stale. A real working man cannot make head or tail of it. It might please a corrupted tradesman, and even that is doubtful. A man who has picked up the manners of his masters without yet tiring of their pleasures, and who wants to prove that he is civilized. It might please a young footman, and all this vile foolishness is manufactured with no good cheer and no simplicity, but with malice, with animal cruelty. They say it is done for art, and that art is a very important thing. But is it true that this is art, and that art is so important that such sacrifices may be laid on its altar? The question matters all the more because this art, for which the labor of millions is sacrificed, and human lives, and above all, the love between people, this same art is growing ever more vague and undefined in the minds of those who serve it. Criticism, in which the lovers of art once found support for their judgments, has lately grown so self-contradictory that if you removed from the domain of art everything the critics of the various schools refuse to call art, almost nothing would be left. Artists of the different sects, like theologians of the different sects, cancel and destroy one another. Listen to the artists of the schools of today. In every branch you will find some denying the rest. In poetry, the old Romantics deny the Parnassians and the Decadents. The Parnassians deny the Romantics and the Decadents. The Decadents deny the Symbolists and all who came before them. The Symbolists deny the Magi and all who came before them. And the Magi deny everyone who came before them. In the novel, naturalists, psychologists, naturists, each denying the others. And so it goes in drama, in painting, and in music. This art devours the enormous labor of the people and the lives of men, and it destroys the love between people. Yet it is not merely undefined. It is understood so differently by its own devotees that it is hard to say what is meant by art at all, and harder still to say what is meant by good and useful art, the kind of art for whose sake such sacrifices might be made.